For those of you who've never been to the Innovation Lab, we are a space where we give you a service. And the service is this. If you are taking on a challenge in your department where no one seems to know the answer, best practices have failed, and everyone is confounded by the challenge, those are the type of challenges that we take on here at the Innovation Lab. We're a free resource to everyone that's here, that's working here for a hospital, AHS. Just come on by or email or call us, and then we will get you started on an innovation project. But for now, it's time for our Phil Talk. And we've got our guest speaker. Everyone give it up for Mr. Koszuta.
The word team is a really interesting word. It's a word that we hear a lot. It's a word that probably has a million different definitions. I think if we had to summarize what all those definitions say, they would say that it's a group of individuals working together for a common goal. And I've thought about that word in team and connection for a long time, but I would ask the question is, why are there some teams that seem to be so connected and other teams that seem to be scattered, hoping that they achieve great things? Now, I've thought about this topic for probably the last 8 years, and I've thought about how it relates to connection and how it relates to high performance. And I grew up playing sports, so I have the sports perspective. I played all the way through college. And then for the last 2.5 years, I have the perspective of the workforce. It's fascinating. And so today, I stand up here not to tell you that I have an answer for how to connect with anyone, but I stand up here to offer 2 ideas that, if you're willing to try, I think can help you connect with anyone at any time the second that you leave Phil. But before I go any further, I want to invite everyone, I know this is going to be an unpopular decision, to drop your forks and free your hands just for a moment. All right, so turn to the person on your right and just give them a high five. All right, now this time I'm going to teach you something about high fives that you can take out of here and you can keep with you for the rest of your life. When you give a high five, if you look at the other person's elbow, you will never miss. So, boom. Boom. So turn back to that same person, look at their elbow, and give them a high five.
Wow. That
works. Yeah. So if you were at Karen's talk last week, she said rational thinking is best. That's somewhat of an irrational thought, but it works. And I'm going to teach you one other thing. You're still going to need your both hands here. It's going to be a personalized handshake. It's very simple. You can do this anytime. And so this personalized handshake is like up, and then down, and then you pound, and you're just going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
So turn to the person on the other side of you and do that handshake with them. All right, no, that's really good. This time, we're going to do that one more time with the same partner in a moment, but this time you're going to emphasize the yeah with a little bit of your gut. You're going to be like, yeah. Let me hear you say yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like this. It's going to be boom, 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 yeah. Turn back to that same partner. Excellent. Did you feel that? Mm-hmm. Snap your fingers if you felt the energy in the room rise. Yeah. Snap your fingers if you felt a little bit more connected to the person next to you. If you want to drive connection, give handshakes and high fives. And you might be thinking that seems a little too simple, or that doesn't seem like a way that helps drive connection. But I just watched you all give a handshake and a high five, and the room lit up. So I think about why this works. And there's a research study that was done a few years ago that 3 social psychologists from the University of Cal Berkeley wanted to find out if teams that gave positive touches correlated to success. And what they found out is, as they studied 30 NBA teams, the National Basketball Association, Professional Basketball League, they studied one game for each of the 30 teams, and what they found is the teams that gave more positive touches, handshakes and high fives, actually correlated to being the most successful teams that season. It was the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers, and they played in the championship game. There was an intern who was at the Phoenix Suns, which is an NBA team, who was inspired by this study, so he did a little study of his own. And what he did is he chose one player from the Phoenix Suns. It was Steve Nash, who's one of my favorite players of all time, one of the greatest point guards in basketball ever. And what he did is he took a notepad and he sat courtside and he tracked every positive touch that Steve Nash gave for a 48-minute game. At the end of that game, Steve Nash had given 239 positive touches in 48 minutes. If you want to drive connection, give high fives and handshakes. His teammates were interviewed about this study, and they all said Steve's one of the greatest players I've ever played with, talent-wise, but also he creates connection with his teammates. And he was just inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame 2 weeks ago. So I wonder if that had anything to do with it. Now you might be thinking, why does handshakes and high fives help to drive connection? Well, then I started looking at the science of it. And every time you give a high five with somebody, we are aligned with our minds and our bodies touch, and oxytocin is released in our brain. And oxytocin is a chemical that promotes trust and bonding. And so Steve Nash just did that 239 times, and they won a lot of games that year. So this made me think about my personal life, and I started thinking, how could I incorporate this into my basketball career? Because up until 2 years ago, I was in college and I was still playing basketball. And it inspired me. And so I think back to when I was 12 years old, my parents, they gave me an amazing gift. They gave me the gift to dream really big. They gave me the gift and the opportunity and encouragement to think that I could achieve things if I really worked hard at them. And so I had this dream to play Division I college basketball. Ever since I was 12 years old, the only thing I wanted to do was play Division I college basketball. I wanted to play on ESPN, I wanted to play on TV, I wanted to play in front of sold-out arenas. I wanted to play at Duke, which is one of my favorite schools that has an amazing basketball atmosphere. I wanted to play at Kansas, which is one of the most famous basketball arenas of all time. And after my senior year of high school, I graduated and I signed a scholarship to play Division I college basketball at the University of Louisiana at Monroe. A dream come true. So I went through my freshman year, and through my freshman year, I had some ups and downs like any freshman would in their first year. And I got a text message in the summer before my sophomore year from my coach, and he said, "Come to my office." And you can imagine if your boss ever said, "Come to my office," with no explanation, you might be a little nervous. And I was 19 at the time. So I walk into his office, and I vividly remember I walked in, and the lights were dimmed for some reason. And there was 2 red chairs sitting opposite his desk, and he had some old championship rings that were sitting on his desk. He had his laptop open because he was working when I walked in. When I walked in, he closed his laptop and he set it to the side. I took a seat and we made some small talk. I said, "Coach, how's it going?" I'm shaking a little bit. My hands are a little sweaty. I'm nervous. And he said, "It's going well." I said, "Thanks for coming." I said, "Well, what am I doing here?" And he looked at me and he said, "Kyle, you're a horrible defender." He said, "You are really bad at defense." As a 19-year-old kid, I was like, wow, I've been trying my best. And I'm not meeting the expectations of my coach. So I left that office, I went back to my room, I was really disappointed. I sat there and I just looked at the wall for a while. And then after that, I immediately changed into action. And I texted our strength and conditioning coach, Coach Brian Seitz. Coach Brian Seitz is your prototypical strength and conditioning coach. He lifts weights about 10 times a day, eats 1,000 grams of protein, he's huge. The thing about Coach Brian is that he was one of the most enthusiastic people I'd ever been around. During our workouts, I scheduled 3 extra workouts that summer in order to increase my agility and my quickness so I could impress my coach and I wanted to be able to play. And so during those workouts, Coach Brian would be giving me high fives all over the place. We had a personalized handshake every time I walked into the room. And I spent that whole summer in the weight room working on agility, quickness, explosiveness, so I could be ready for the first game of the season. First game of the season comes around, and I'm in the best shape of my life. And so we get to the gym that we're playing at, and it's an away game, so we're out in a different state. And as we get there, I'm really excited, I'm jittery. Right? The first of anything is always exciting, but especially a college basketball game. And I get dressed in the locker room, and then I walk out of the locker room. The game's gonna start in about 15 minutes. And as I walk out, I'll never forget, there was these red velvet ropes that were in the hallway, and they were blocking the fans from walking through so our team could get out. And there's concession stands here and here. And so I remember walking down the little aisle, the hallway, and the fans were looking at us, and I was like, man, this is amazing. This is like, these guys are waiting for us. And I get up to the court, and both my feet stand right on the court, and I look out, and I see 16,300 fans in red, white, and blue excited to watch us play. This game was on ESPN. My parents were sitting over behind the bench, playing against the number 5 team in the country. This is a dream come true. And we were playing at Kansas University. In Allen Fieldhouse, Kansas University is one of the most historic basketball arenas ever. People make it a destination place to go. And it was always a dream of mine to play here. And I'm about to play here. And so the game starts, and I come off the bench. And about 2 minutes into the game, I go in, and coach calls 2. And remember, I had 4 months earlier been told I was a horrible defender. Now I'm the first one in the game, and I'm like, I'm about to show you, coach, right? And so I get in the game, and coach calls 2, and I go over to set a screen. And so what 2 meant is I was going to set a screen, meaning I was essentially going to block my teammate's defender so he could get open and get a wide open shot, right? And so my teammate Tyler, I set him up. I said, Tyler, I'm going to set you a screen. And I go to set him a screen, and as I go to set a screen, I plant my feet, and I remember looking down at the defender's feet in front of me because I want to make sure that I am square to the defender. And as I lift my head, I realize that I'm about to hit this 7'1" monster. And now, you may be thinking, Kyle, what were you thinking in this moment? And you wouldn't be the only one who was thinking that. This girl down here had heavy judgment. This guy right here was highly cynical. And this guy up here feared that death was upon me. I had similar thoughts. And before I tell you what happened, I'll make a side note that this was 4 years ago. So these 3 guys today collectively amount and make $324 million. Wow. I'll let you decide who's not seeing that paycheck. I need one of these. Oxytocin, okay, I'm better. So I go to set this screen, and my teammate Tyler comes off the screen, and he shoots a shot, and it was nothing but net. Bucket, right? And their coach was so livid at this play that he calls a timeout immediately. We start going back towards the bench, and I'm giving high fives and handshakes to my teammates. And I feel amazing because I just created a play for us. If you want to drive connection, give high fives and handshakes. A few plays later, I am on offense, and I come around and I take a shot, and I miss. And it's a long rebound, the ball clanks off the rim. I'm down on the other end, and now I just find it with me, my teammate Tyler, and their 2 players. It's their point guard who's bringing the ball up the court on this side, and this guy again, my arch nemesis, right? And he's coming down the center of the court. It is essentially 2-on-2. Basketball's typically 5-on-5, but the other guys were still in the back of the court. And I remember looking like, okay, I peek beyond this guy who's sprinting at me like just a monster, right? And I look back and I see my teammate Marvin right behind him. Marvin had fallen down, and I remember looking at Marvin's eyes, and Marvin, it just looked like he was thinking, Kyle's about to get slam dunked. So then I look over at my coach, who's standing on the sidelines. Remember, I'm like, Coach, I got this. And he's arms crossed. I just see his left arm begin to go like this. And Kyle's about to get slam dunked on. And then I'm the only one that must believe in myself because I'm standing there ready for Joel Embiid to run at me, and I'm just thinking, let's go. Right? And so Joel Embiid gets the pass. He rises up, and I jump at the exact same time. I'm 6 foot, he's 7'1", 7'2". And as we make contact, I try to crawl up his body. And then he goes higher and takes off like a bird. And I just swipe my arm and close my eyes. And the ball goes to one of my teammates. I block the shot. Now my teammates claim that the ball just slipped out of his hands. I would go to the end of my grave and say I blocked that shot. My teammate takes the ball down, hits a 3. We get a bucket. And again, their coach is livid, right? He is so mad. And what he does is he calls a timeout again. So we go over, all my teammates are jumping on me, they're giving me high fives, we're giving fist bumps and handshakes. I feel like the most amazing person in the world. The joy that I had in that moment could have stretched around the world. If you want to drive connection, give handshakes and high fives. Now, this is a sports example, and you might be thinking that doesn't apply to me, but I would challenge that assumption. And I want to show you an example of another industry, not sports, in a short video. It was a teacher who took this idea and he incorporated it into his classroom in order to help his students connect more. And before I show that video though, this was me and the coach shaking hands. He wasn't so mad anymore because they actually ended up winning the game. But yeah, let's watch this video on how this teacher creates personal handshakes with his classroom.
Let's go. At Charlotte's Ashley Park Elementary, attendance is quite the show.
As personalized handshakes, we pride ourselves on high expectations in the classroom and meaningful relationships.
One after another, and these 40 handshakes, each is unique and very white junior students.
It really just started with me wanting to, bring some joy to my students, and then now, it's blown up.
How do you remember every single one?
At this point, it's muscle memory.
Nick is always ready.
We do it so much every day. I may do it during lunch, at recess. I may do it every day when they come to my class.
White may have a famous name, but he's one of a kind. He grew up in Queens, New York. Yet he's a huge Cleveland Cavaliers fan, and he got the idea from watching LeBron James's pregame handshake rituals with his teammates. This is about more than just a handshake.
It's definitely about more than a handshake. It's about impacting the student in the most positive way.
The students here are mostly lower income. He's just making sure they get a fair shake.
They come from some situations that may not be ideal.
Well, I felt so inspired because I feel like that I'm welcomed in his class.
You come in, you be excited, you need to do your handshake, then you could come sit down, you'll be already ready.
In White's second year teaching, he seems to have found his calling.
I feel like this is probably the #1 job in America.
A few moments with him, and you notice a lesson for us all.
Never underrate the value of relationships with anyone. What you got?
A true educator with just the right touch. Kate Gutierrez, NBC News. Sure.
NBC News fans, thanks for checking out.
Let's get it.
So I asked the question in the very beginning. I said, why are there some teams that are so highly connected and there's others that seem scattered? And man, that's an amazing video. And I challenged this group that what could you take away from this? And I mean, it's two simple ideas. And it's not the answer to connection by any stretch. But I think about our team here, and we give high fives a lot. And it's that release of oxytocin, it's that connection that we have between each other after we send a sick email that I feel really good about, or whether we just did a project, or whether you're a nurse that just came out of the operating room and you feel really accomplished. Because one thing that handshakes and high fives do is they create bonds between people. And they create a moment in time, whether it's 1 second or 3 seconds or 10 seconds, that allow you to connect on more of a level than the transactional level that we so oftentimes finding ourselves connecting on. And so, if you want to drive connection, give handshakes and high fives, just try it. And to try it right now, we have a few minutes left. I'm going to put a challenge on the group to find someone right next to you. I'm going to give you 90 seconds to create a handshake similar to what you just saw on the screen. All right, so we're going to do it in like 90 seconds to 2 minutes, and we'll have a little demonstration of some handshakes right afterwards. All right, so 90 seconds, go ahead.
All right. Oh. Bro.
All right, stay where you're at. Stay where you're at. Don't sit back down. If you've already started, sit back up. All right, where you're at, does anybody want to share where they're at right now? I'm really excited to see some of these handshakes. You want to share yours?
Yeah.
All right, let's see it.
Okay.
See.
Oh, wait.
Ah.
Oh, this German
You're a very
efficiency.
efficient one.
This is German efficiency. This German efficiency.
Yeah, I'll
Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
I like it. Cool. Let me see a few more. We still have some time. Thomas, what's up? Hey. I love it. Somebody else. You got it right here? Oh. Alright, maybe one more. Anybody else want to be the last one to share?
Okay.
You got out of this. We are definitely ending on that one. I'll leave you with this. If you want to drive connection, give handshakes and high fives. It's two things, it's not the answer. But it's two things that will help you move into a place of maybe more high performance or achieving great results. And it helps build culture. And like Morgan said at her Wisdom Wednesday a few weeks ago, just try it. Thank you.